Welcome to Brewsers, a podcast about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. I'm your host, Roddy John, and today we talk to Drake Hoffman with Cypress and Grove Brewing out of Gainesville, Florida. We talk all about how they got started in the historic ice house, the connection with the community, and so much more. This is such a fun conversation. Drake was awesome on this interview, and I can't wait to head back to Florida and definitely check out Cypress and Grove Brewing because they are doing amazing things down there, and I love it, and I got to see it for myself in person. So we'll get right to Drake in a second, but first, make sure to sign up for our newsletter. It comes out twice a week. You get even more information about our guests. You get fun facts, and you get to find out what's happening with your favorite podcast, all about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. So without further ado, here is Drake Hoffman with Cypress and Grove Brewing. I would like to welcome to the show Drake Hoffman with Cypress and Grove Brewing. How are you doing today, sir?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing well. So for those listening, kind of paint us a word picture. Where are you at and what's going on around you?
We are in Gainesville, Florida, at a production brewery, Cypress and Grove. It's been here. We just celebrated our 7-year anniversary a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations.
I've been here. Oh, thank you very much. I've been here over 3 years as the brewer, and we've got a 15-barrel brew house with a few 15-barrel fermenters, a few 30-barrel fermenters, and a couple sevens, and we've got a little bit of distribution going on locally, and just a pretty cool tap room and brew house that has some historical relevance in the neighborhood. It used to be an ice house.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's a couple 100-year-old building, and
wow.
we have a well that goes straight to the Florida aquifer here, so that's where we get all of our water for brewing.
Is there anyone else that does that, or are you guys the only one?
I couldn't tell you specifically. Okay. I'm sure that other people pride themselves on the quality of their water, for sure. But we can say for certain that we have like a 400-foot well that goes straight to the Florida aquifer.
That's nice.
And yeah, it's great. And one of our owners is in water management. So we have this really, really state-of-the-art ozone filtration system. So not only is our water super duper high quality coming out of the ground, it's crystal clean. Super nice.
Okay, explain to me the ozone water.
How does my God. I could not tell you exactly how that works. I don't understand how ozone works.
Fair. As
a substance. But from what I understand, it means that we have to use little or no bleach in the treatment of the water.
Okay.
Which is is how all tap water and stuff like that is treated. So because we're pulling water directly from the ground and using it to brew, and also giving it directly to the consumer, because we have a cold liquor tank where we have water where you can just come get a glass of water that's straight from the Florida aquifer. Wow. So for that reason, we have to there are legalities that we have to hit certain numbers and stuff. But the ozone technology is really, really new, and I guess it helps filter the water without the use of chemical.
Huh. I am definitely going to be looking into that after this interview, because now I am very interested.
Yeah, I mean, when I got here, that was the first I had ever heard of ozone filtration.
Right. Yeah, like you'd imagine, the ozone. I was like, how are we filtering through this, and what is it? Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I remember a couple years ago when I was a kid, I read Anthony Kiedis's book from the Chili Peppers.
Such a good book.
You read that book?
Oh, I did read that book. That book's amazing.
It opens with him being injected with ozone.
Oh.
Like that's how he beat Hep C or something like that.
I don't remember that part for whatever reason.
It's insane. He has this like Indian woman or something like that is over, because it's like making this whole analogy, making it sound like it's the opening of the book, and it's making it sound like, oh my God, is he opening this book telling us how he's shooting up right now? And and then you come to realize like, oh, this is his whole like weird health regimen thing he does or whatever. But I was like, wait, what the hell is injectable ozone?
And now you guys are making beer out of it.
I mean, we're at least filtering water with it.
Right.
That's the extent of my knowledge.
Well, let's go all the way back in time. What is your earliest memory of beer?
Holy cow. Earliest memory of beer. Hmm. I mean, that's really hard to say. Like, I definitely come from a family of a fair level of alcohol abuse and stuff like that. So
Right. Same. Yeah.
early, yeah, early memories probably aren't super positive, but I myself went on a substance abuse journey as a kid, and so I, at the age of like 21 or 22, ended up going to rehab for pills. And so
Whoa.
for a couple years after that, I didn't drink at all. I was just sober. So like my getting into beer and like my kind of birth or rebirth, regenesis of like having a relationship with beer and craft beer it was kind of super pure because like I had to be won over from a standpoint of like I don't like alcohol and I don't like beer.
Right.
So when I finally started getting into it, it was because it was like a lot of things in my life. I found that it was simply curiosity and something nagging at me rather than an outright like what I love that, what is that, let me have that again. It was more like what's going on here, why do I want to maybe try this again, is this gross or is this good, you know?
Right. What was it about beer that did end up winning you over? And then obviously, with being you're never done being an addict. You're always an addict. It's just,
Oh yeah.
you have to learn how to process it and everything. And congratulations on, going through all that and realizing you do have a problem and you have to have reevaluate your entire relationship with, substances in general.
Exactly, yeah, I mean it's definitely a tricky road in this industry, and I see
Mhm.
a ton of friends and just colleagues that are essentially just functioning addicts, and it's so commonplace and it's so acceptable in this industry to
Yeah.
drink and drink and drink yourself to death, essentially. And so I've tried to walk a really, really touchy path with that because I mean, I can see myself falling down into that path when I start to drink too much and stuff. So I generally try to only drink a couple times a week, once or two nights a week.
Good for you.
Also, I would get super fat if I drank beer all the time. So I
I
legit can't do it.
I am probably not in better shape due to beer, but I battle it hard in the gym, and sometimes I feel like I'm winning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I'm fighting just an uphill battle. Like
Hmm.
there's no amount of exercise I can do to take off those beer calories. So yeah, I try to keep it at a minimum there and just try to keep it in perspective that it is actually still, technically poison. So
True. Yes.
try try to be careful and drink with care. So for
Yeah.
me, what got me into it was stuff like that kind of ideology. I had friends who in the early days of right, like before I was even 21, probably, I had some older friends who were into craft beer and they liked like it was during like the IBU war stuff. So it was like Stone Ruination and Terrapin Hopsecutioner and all these beers that like promoted themselves as being over 100 IBUs, and they're just
Yeah.
like made to punch you in the jaw with bitterness. And I thought that was just super duper silly and stupid and kind of like you know, for lack of a better term, like a dick measuring contest, like for
True. Yeah.
people to be like, I really like this. And like, no, you don't. You're just trying to look cool for your friends. So initially I was kind of turned off by the whole craft thing. Like extreme doesn't always mean good.
Hmm.
Um, and then what really the first beer I ever had that I was like, what's going on here was a beer called Duchess de Bourgogne, which is like a Belgian, a Flemish red ale that's like a sour ale aged in steel tanks, and it tastes like a salad dressing or something. It tastes like a
Oh.
vinaigrette. It has it's tart, it's red, it's a really really beautiful beer, but it really threw me because I'd never even had a sour beer before, and then I was like,
Mm.
what is going on in this glass? And that was when I remember being like, that's interesting. I kind of want to find out more about that.
Wait, say that beer again, because I think I had this.
Duchess de Bourgogne.
Yeah, the it has like a old like
A
Victorianish type
Flemish painting,
painting.
yeah,
Yeah.
of a lady.
Yeah, I
Yep.
had this in New Orleans. This is an amazing beer.
It's a top level beer. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful Belgian beer that's been like renowned for many, many years.
Hmm.
People in the know that this is a good beer. And one of my friends the whole thing that got me into it was I got a job at a craft cocktail place because one of my buddies was just in that lifestyle. And I wasn't even drinking at the time. I was just like desperate for a job. And I was like, look, I can do anything. And he was like, okay. So I kind of jumped into that world and I was not really particularly into the cocktail side of it for kind of it was just this culture that was like it didn't really attract me. But he kind of like he was like a picky beer drinker and he
Mm.
liked this and that and a couple little things and he was like, try this beer. It's really, really good. And I remember he gave it to me and I was like, what is actually going on here?
I can do more of the beer than just make it light and something you can pound.
Yeah, I could dress a salad with it maybe.
Right. Yeah. I can marinate chicken with this.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was like, from there, it was like, it wasn't immediately like, man, I want to drink a ton of this. It was just the kind of curiosity that sticks with you and sort of rubs into a genuine attraction.
Mhm. So how did you go from there to start making it on your own? Or did you kind of taste some more and kind of figure out what's going on and then start brewing? Or how did the whole brewing process even happen for you?
Yeah, it was all kind of born of that gig. It was a real craft cocktail bar, so we had beer reps coming in too. We had a small beer list and a small tap list. So beer reps were coming in and they want you to try their products and all this. And I remember being the guy there a couple times and having them, you know, kind of like kind of give me the backstory, fill it all in, give me the intrigue to make me be like, oh, okay, that's what's going on. Like I always feel like basically anything that a bunch of people already think is really good, all you really need is the context to start understanding it and enjoying it. And
Mm.
that was really what was missing for craft beer for me. It was just like somebody to be like, oh, well, this is where this hop is from, and this is why this malt is interesting, and this is the history of this style. Like that's always been kind of the story is what draws me in. So a combination of tasting beers that I was like, wow, that's actually really good, and kind of being immersed in the culture and the story eventually led to me being like, I remember I was talking to my cousin and I was like, yeah, I've been getting into this craft beer thing and I'm going to these places and trying all these beers. And he's like, well, did you ever think about making it? And I was like, well, not really. It's been a couple months. And he was like, well, my girlfriend gifted me like a Mr. Beer kit that
Yeah.
I'm never going to use. If you want, I'll just send it to you. And I was like, dude, yeah, if you send it to me, I'll make the beer. And he sent it to me. This is when I was living in Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm.
And in Atlanta, there's a store called Hop City, which is probably the best craft beer store and selection in the Southeast. I think that's what they say,
Oh,
anyways.
wow.
But they also were a home brew supply store. It was awesome. So I went over there and kind of asked some questions and got a little recipe together, whatever. And I brewed a beer and it was terrible. But I thought it was, I was like, that's cool. I made a bit, I threw it all out, but I was like, wow, I did something. But it sparked the interest to kind of like investigate deeper. And then from there, I ended up getting little jobs here and there at breweries out there. And then everywhere I moved to, I tried to get little jobs here and there until eventually I started home brewing fully in earnest. And I just ended up meeting a friend buying home brewing equipment on Facebook Marketplace
Mhm.
that just ended up becoming essentially a lifelong friend of mine. And when he lost his job at one point about 5 years ago in Jacksonville, we started a little tiny nano brewery there in Orange Park called Cultured Collective. So that was like when I kind of went pro with it.
So, how did you